Bottom of the ninth, up against the odds, running out of time, only got one shot. When it's really do or die, when your back's against the wall, when you fighting for your life, do you believe in you or not? I'm a believer, I believe.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. It's your boy, Mahesh Chookolingo. It's been a while. Some of you may not know, but I was out of the country. I went to visit my home country. I'm a little sick, so my nose is a little stuffy, so please forgive me. So I was out of the country with my wife. We went to Trinidad and Tobago, which is 2 islands in the Caribbean. I do have another YouTube channel you could go check out. It's called Chookolingo Vibes, where I sort of made many little documented episodes of my time in Trinidad. So it's Chookolingo Vibes. I'll put it up on the screen, and you can go there to see my experience. And I'll constantly be putting up more things. But the interesting thing that stood out to me in my last trip was how familiar and how identical Trinidad and Tobago, which is an island in the Caribbean, was to the United States. All the policies are the same. The political division is the same. All the immigration issues are the same. All the crime issues are the same. All the economic issues are the same. It was literally almost pound for pound identical to what's going on in the United States. Now, there's this guy in Trinidad. His name is Garry Griffith. Now, I'm a new podcaster. I did reach out to his team to see if we could do a sit-down interview where I got to hear his take on the scandal that's going on. Apparently, he was fired by the prime minister of the country because he wouldn't toe the line. He wouldn't do what was asked of him. And I think it's very noble that this man stood up to the prime minister and said, no, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. My job is my job. Your job is your job. You don't tell me how to do my job, just like I don't tell you how to do your job. And unfortunately, that caused him to get fired by the prime minister. This created a whole bunch of scandal, and there's a lot of news articles against this guy. His name is Garry Griffith. He's the former police commissioner of Trinidad and Tobago, and I came across his speech that he gave somewhere around the 9/11/22. So that was like a few months ago. And I wish I'd seen it sooner, but I wanted to share with you this little clip that he did, and I want you to hear the similarities in what he's talking about to where we are at in the United States, and his solutions and how he sees things. And I thought it was really interesting. Now, I'm not here to cast judgment on anybody. There's a lot of negative press against this guy, and there's also a lot of positive press. And I think the reason he had to do this speech was because he was just getting too much negative press. And he came to me. I like when somebody comes to the podium and addresses all the allegations, because then you let your accusers have nowhere to hide now, because I've come to the stage, I've addressed what you've accused me of, and I've presented the facts. Now it's your turn. Where are you at? So I'm curious to see how this goes. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it.
On my arrival, I was able to see real parang. That was good. But it is bring the ham for the Christmas and the roast fowl for the Christmas and the suka parang. This was real parang. It was good. And you all are real. There's a lot that I can say tonight. What I would not say is that we are not here to throw a sales pitch here to you all. We are real as well. What you see is what you get.
I like that.
Tobago, we are experiencing our darkest hour. And that is not because of the citizens of this great country. It has to do, unfortunately, with the politicians. Politicians in this country, we have divided this country. And it is deliberate. Politicians go out of their way to cause division. Because when you cause that division, it helps you in your end result, which is to win an election.
Correct.
I have seen and heard things for the last few years that I never thought I would see in this country. And I will say things that it may not be the right thing that may win votes. But one thing I can assure you, as Garry Griffith, I will always be honest to you and I'll be true.
I appreciate that.
One of the things I'll give you an example has to do with how politicians and even persons in political parties, they go out of their way to cause division, to cause hatred,
Correct.
to cause bitterness.
Correct.
One of the lines is this line called the 1%. And politicians and most political parties will not speak about it because they're afraid that it may affect the 99%. But it is disgusting that any politician or activist or whatever you want to call yourself can use that word 1%. what is that 1%? The Syrian Lebanese community. You feel that by casting some type of, by demonizing one arm of the country, you could win over the other 99%. That is division. We do not want that in this country. And no politician has ever stood up to say that 1% line is the most disgusting thing you could hear, because that is the start of division in this country. Because after that so-called 1%, what next? The Chinese community, then you go into the mixed community. When will it be you? We have to stop this division. That division is what has continued to destroy Trinidad and Tobago. And I've seen it right now. Even as we look right now with this political party that is in government, they spend all of their time speaking about hate, division, bitterness, race, and it is to the benefit of them. But it is not to the...
What he just described there is what we call in America identity politics. That's what there is a party in the United States that is known for doing that. That's the Democrat Party. They play the same game, which is put everybody in boxes, label everybody as a specific identity, and then put all those identities to fight against each other. So what he's describing is pretty much the exact same tactic being used in the United States, in Europe, in South America, in Australia, all over the world, in New Zealand. You see, this is a strategy that people need to wake up to. Politicians, or the so-called politicians that are using this strategy of identity politics, that's the goal. The goal is to sow seeds of division, because then you can manipulate and control the crowd and move that crowd in the direction you want them to go. Now, what he's going to point out next is extremely important, because that's the end game. He's going to talk about the end game. The reason for why we have divisive politics, the reason for why we play identity politics. The end game is very crucial. You all need to pay attention, because we live in a world now, if you don't toe the line, you get canceled, you get ostracized. It's very crucial you all understand what is being played all over the world. And I say all over the world because there is a global agenda. There is a global agenda, which means that globally there is a coordinated effort for politicians or parties all over the planet to initiate the same strategy so that the goal ends up being the same. Now, I just want you to, this is an island in the Caribbean, nothing to do with the United States, right? But I want you to pay attention to how the similarities are very eerie, right? Let's go on. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I'll let you guys go watch the full thing. I just wanted to give a few little comments.
Benefit of you, the citizens of this great country. I have seen it over and over. Even with this government, I am not here to any of you all who may be supporters of the PNM, the UNC, the ABC, the XYZ. That
Correct.
is your right.
Correct.
I will never see you as the enemy. The
Good.
enemy could never be those who have your own political view. And
That's
if you
right.
leave here today and you still believe you want to be PNM till you're dead, or you're born at UNC and you're going to die at UNC, that is your right.
Correct.
That could never make you the enemy. Why is it there's only 2 days in this country, 2 days for the year, we could ever be united, which is Carnival Monday and Tuesday. Christmas Day.
True.
Because the politicians take control and they go out of their way to cause that division, to cause that hatred, to cause that bitterness, and it must end. So what this government, they do now, they spend more time trying to demonize anyone that doesn't have a red party card in their back pocket.
Sound familiar?
You cannot expect to want to govern a country when you hate half of the country.
Sound familiar?
I have no intention to go down that road. When people speak about the enemy, as I said, could never be your political opponents.
Or
They
my
just have a
fellow
different
citizens.
Political opinion.
Correct.
The enemy are those people who deprive you of your most fundamental right of safety and security. The enemy are those who will try to rape your family, kidnap, steal. And then when I call those people cockroaches, people have a problem. Well, I could tell you something, and I will stick to it. If someone tries to rape your wife, kidnap your daughter, kill your son, they are cockroaches. And anyone who does not see that, then you are part of the problem. And I am sticking to it. I know who the enemy is. The enemy, again, as I said, are those people who are against democracy. We are no longer in a democratic society. We have a government that, unfortunately, they are going out of their way to ensure that there's no longer democracy in this country. This is what you call a democratic dictatorship. where they try to control every aspect of independent bodies. I
Yep.
saw it recently with myself, with the
Yep.
Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission has now, in the last Police Service Commission, they became totally compromised because politicians interfered. Politicians have interfered in the police service, they've interfered in the judiciary. Every single aspect they have interfered. That is the first sign of dictatorship. We have now, unfortunately, becoming into what is known as a police state, where it is even the police service has become so politicized because individuals do not know when to stand up.
Sound familiar?
So when it is that I was a commissioner of police and politicians will try to influence me to turn in a certain direction to target political opponents, I will say no.
Sound familiar?
If it is that you are a blind loyalist and you support someone blindly, that doesn't make you a good leader. We have 4 principles in the National Transformation Alliance, and those 4 principles assisted me when I was Minister of National Security, when I was Commissioner of Police, even before when I was National Security Advisor, even before that, for 15 years when I spent in service in for my country in the Defense Force. 3 times I swore an oath to office as a soldier, as a politician, and as a police officer. And all 3 times I swear that oath in office, I remember that oath to my God, to my country, and to the citizens of this country.
That he talks about crime and the issues with crime in Trinidad. And then he goes on to explain his resume and all that stuff. That's yada yada. You could go back and watch. I'll post the link to the full thing in the description below. Again, forgive my nose. My nose is a little clogged. I'm sick right now, but I'll get over it. I just wanted to share this with you so that you see that the United States is not the only place dealing with this level of leftist so-called agenda where they're painting a picture of virtue and righteousness, but behind the scenes, they're the most sinister arm of a global agenda to turn every country into a police state. That's the goal, to slowly erode and eliminate the... You remember that time that they in Trinidad, for those Trinidadians will know, when the pandemic happened and they talked about state of emergency. When you initiate a state of emergency in Trinidad and Tobago, it's the equivalent of martial law in the United States. What that allows the government to do is to put the Constitution on pause or to suspend it. And see, this is the same tactic being used all over the world. This is what he's talking about, right? I'll post it up there. It goes on for like 17 minutes. It's really short video. Go watch the whole thing. But at towards the end of this, he also talked about the gun policies in Trinidad and Tobago. They tried to accuse him of the reason that crime went up in Trinidad was because of the allowance of gun permits for legal gun ownership. That is ludicrous. And he calls that BS out. And he says, I was in the police. I could tell you that the reason we had crime, all the people committing crimes were people who held guns illegally. So this guy is awake, man. He knows what's up. He's been ostracized, kicked out, fired from his job because he didn't toe the line. He didn't go along with what his boss said he had to do, which, what's the point of having different branches of the government to make their own decisions? And you're, at the prime minister, you're supposed to consult with your division. And if this consultation tells you, hey, it's probably not a good idea to go after fellow politician or opposition leaders because that could be as perceived as political persecution, which is what he says, which is what we have going on in the United States right now. The FBI and all these other intelligence agencies have been weaponized to the point where they're going after anybody who's opposing the current administration. You guys need to understand that you have to stand up for your right as a citizen. You got to speak up. You got to educate your community. And you got to exercise your rights. Your rights are being trampled on. You hear a knock at the door and they load you up into a van and take you away. That's not the America I want my kids to grow up in, should the Lord ever bless me with that. That's not the America I want for you, whether we disagree or agree, whether you vote for Party A or Party B. That's not the world I envision. That's not these United States. That's not any constitution. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. I'll put the link to this video down below. Go listen to the full thing. I just wanted to share this clip and kind of give you my little 2 cents on it and how I saw so many parallels between what's going on in that little island and what's going on here. Also, we also face an immigration open border policy in the Caribbean, just as you do here in the United States, because that's the goal, right? That's the agenda. Flood these nations in and sort of dissipate the culture, dissipate any resistance. There's a whole lot of reasons behind it. Also, they're also having issues with competition for labor, and we could get into a lot of stuff, guys. But please take the time, go listen to this thing. It was awesome. I enjoyed hearing it. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Please forgive my nose, nostrils. I was sick. I'll see you guys again later. Thank you.